Liverpool have done it. Alexander Isak is on his way to Anfield. Sasha Tavernieri has confirmed that the personal terms between Isak's camp and Liverpool Football Club have been agreed. We know how sobering this is to every rival. We know how worrying this is for anyone whose club or themselves have the ambitions or ideals of winning the Premier League this year. Liverpool, an amazing summer. They're going to get this deal done. I think it's very obvious to everybody that Isak will become a Liverpool player. We're going to delve into this in a little more detail, plus a couple of very interesting clips to play you. One, I think you've got to learn more about transfers before talking about them. And Simon Jordan attacking Liverpool and Isak for their behaviour in this transfer window, which I personally find to be massively hypocritical from anybody backing it. We're going to delve into all of that, but make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you are subscribing. Make sure the bell notification button is hit as well. And as we know, Newcastle fans, are fuming. And of course they're fuming. Liverpool have just landed their star man. But to add insult to injury, there's the Ekitike situation as well. Let's take a little look at this. This is from a Newcastle fan just a few short weeks ago. Let's listen.
Newcastle have just pulled the power play of the century and dominated Liverpool. So Liverpool's apparent stance on this Isak and Ekitike saga is, if you don't sell us Isak, we're going to take your top target, Hugo Ekitike. How the mighty have fallen. Luke Edwards of the Telegraph Sport reports that Newcastle's hierarchy are unflustered, basically not really bothered by Liverpool's attempt to try and unsettle Alexander Isak, and will still continue pursuing Hugo Ekitike. You thought you were having one or the other, lads. You're having none. Newcastle have quite...
You're having none. Sometimes it's important to listen to the local and respected journalists that are close to your football club. But there's also a time where you've got to understand who you're dealing with. Newcastle United are a big club. Liverpool are a juggernaut. They're a giant. They're a gargantuan football club in comparison. I felt this whole time, and I don't want to back Liverpool. I'm a Man United fan. But I felt this rhetoric the whole time that Newcastle were unflustered, they're not worried, they'll get their business. I've always felt it was a load of old cap. I've always felt it was a load of old tosh, flannel, jackanori, spin. And unfortunately, too many Newcastle fans fell for it.
Literally said, no, Isak's staying at Newcastle and we're also going to take your top striker target off you. Who is this club? I genuinely don't recognise it. Whoever's running things on the transfer front for Newcastle must have some absolute bollocks.
I wonder if that's changed. I wonder if he thinks that, I think his name's Josh. I wonder if Josh thinks that the person running their transfers has now got bollocks or not. I'd love to understand.
Tell the club of Liverpool's size to say, you're not having Isak and you're also not having Ekitike. Oh my God. And let's be real, Newcastle fans, it's not hard to do that. We've always been used to Newcastle rolling over for other clubs, selling players at the first chance we get under Mike Ashley. But we're serious now. Like, no joke aside, we're actually a big, serious club. And
look, you are a big club. I'm not going to take that away from Newcastle. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't even say you're unserious. But this summer, you've just... You know, you're a good-sized fish. You're a good-sized fish in a region of the country. You're massive compared to Middlesbrough and Sunderland at the moment. You just are, and you're better than them. But what you're now doing is you've gone into the ocean, and there are these, are they megalodons? Is that what they're called? They're just chomping you up left, right, and centre. And there's very little that Newcastle have been able to do. And it's comments like this fan here. This is why Newcastle fans are so angry about this. We know that Liverpool are getting themselves a fantastic player. I think most of us knew this deal was going to happen. Yes, it's still got to complete and it's still got to get over the line from this point, but it's very likely to. But it hasn't just annoyed Newcastle fans, which you would expect. Let's take a listen to this here. This is Simon Jordan talking on TalkSport about this deal. Liverpool fans, strap yourselves in. Don't overreact. Just listen to what he's got to say. Then we'll react to it together. But listen to this.
Money will dictate what he does next. But if he's looking at what Newcastle are doing in terms of business, they couldn't get the Mburma deal over the line. They struggled trying to sign Gahey. They're struggling trying to sign Johan Vissa. He's probably looking at it thinking, you're not getting any players. I'm looking around the change room. Where are the star players?
There's also a school of thought which says he can look and do whatever he pleases. He can also do as he's bloody told and buckle up and be told to do as he's told.
The thing is, I get the sentiment that Simon Jordan's coming from here. Well, Isak asking to leave, refusing to play, putting in a transfer request, not training. He should just do as he's told. The problem with this train of thought is that we only ever think like this when a club we hate is getting a player we don't want them to, or if our club's going to lose a star. There are no Newcastle fans who are crying and fuming and angry with Wissa. I saw True Geordie actually tweet. He quote tweeted Ben Jacobs, who says, Ben Jacobs put out this tweet that said, Liverpool's remain intent on signing Alexander Isak, etc., etc. True Geordie then quote tweeted and said, translation, we tapped up your player to a point where he's refusing to play for you in order to weaken your negotiation position. And now we want you to admit you're willing to sell so we don't have to pay the full price. The answer from Newcastle should be simple. Fuck off. He then replies himself underneath saying Wissa did the same thing. And he goes on to say he's bang out of order for doing that also. Funny old thing is you can't control what this geezer is doing. And just because it might benefit my club doesn't invalidate my opinion. But this is where I think it does invalidate most football fans' opinion. This isn't specific to True Geordie. He was very similar. For years called out having oil money, Middle Eastern money, etc. At Man City. As soon as it came to Newcastle, it was oil me up, bruv. And most football fans are like that because our real motivations when it comes to not wanting, and there are people that genuinely care, but most people, when they don't want that type of owner, or they think that that's tapping up and the team should be punished, or this player should be considered a scumbag because he's refusing to train, it's typically out of bitterness and anger when our clubs are missing out or a rival is getting something that you desire. And that is all I'm seeing here, is a bitterness towards Liverpool. It's as simple and as straightforward as that. It's a bitterness towards Liverpool because they're taking and getting a star player. And yes, you could say Isak should just do as he's told, but the same people saying that will not push that message. Maybe they're prompted into saying it now by saying Vissa's out of order. But True Geordie will be cheering Vissa on next year if he's a Newcastle player, will fall in love with him if he delivers. He won't be sitting there after every goal going, yeah, but we know he's a scumbag because he forced the move. No football fans think like that, really.
It depends how strong the football club wants to be. I mean, Liverpool can sit there. I'd like to see at times these miscreants over the PFA start having a few things to say about players and their attitude when they decide they're not going to turn up for training or they're not going to turn in for contractual obligations because they don't like the club they're now playing for, and the LMA and with managers and their conduct at times. But we'll leave Mr. O'Neill to do it.
But they're not going to do that either, Simon. Because what about when clubs don't want players anymore or clubs don't want managers anymore? They're sold or sacked. Why is it that when it's in the other direction, people take issue with it? I don't understand.
That given he's the chairman of the LMA now. Look, I think if Liverpool want to buy this player, then they should get on with trying to buy him. And Newcastle have got to be very strong in what they want. And I don't really care what Alexander Isak wants right now. I care if I'm the owner of the football club and the manager of the football club, my job is to make sure that I'm okay. So if you want to come buy my player, come buy him or bugger off, right?
But they are doing that, Liverpool. And I like some of Simon Jordan's takes. But Liverpool are getting all their ducks in a row. They're getting the personal terms agreed. They're getting the legality sorted. Exits are needed from the club to help balance the books. Squad space is needed. It's essential. Everybody criticised Chelsea for not having great squad space. So why would we not afford that same train of thought to Liverpool? And once they've got all of that sorted, the bids will come in. Simon Jordan knows this. He used to own a football club. This is what I call out about bad punditry and the bad education of fans. Fans will now go, yeah, you're right. Stop dilly-dally and just get the bid done. Why? This is the perfect opportunity to educate football fans on what happens in the process towards putting in a bid at this stage of a transfer window. It would calm the fan bases. It would make everybody more knowledgeable. It would relax a lot of situations. But instead, this hyperbole is thrown out all the time. And it's frustrating. It really, really is, in my personal and humble opinion.
Don't use all the forces of the fact that you're a football club that's achieved something last year, your second Premier League title in 32 years, but you've achieved it now in the last.
Plus multiple domestic trophies, Champions Leagues, title runs, growth in revenue, one of the biggest fan bases in the world. I don't want to defend Liverpool, but I feel like not defending Liverpool and allowing this kind of rhetoric to become carte blanche, this kind of rhetoric to be to go under the radar, to become the norm. Eventually, it's going to damage my club, Manchester United. It's very weird, bitter, little man syndrome, like a chihuahua barking at a Rottweiler.
5 years of Cups re-emerge as a force in English football again, dominating leagues. But don't use that as an opportunity just to unseat the player. Make a bid, or I'm going to make it really, really hard for you to buy this player.
But teams, what about, where was this when Real Madrid were trying to unsettle Trent? Where's this now? I mean, Real Madrid are literally doing this right now to Canate. This goes on in football, and it's part of the beauty of it. But they only pick and choose when it's bad. They only pick and choose when it should be seen as wrong. Why is that? Why not a consistency of approach here? But look, at the end of the day, Sasha Cavalieri has put the news out. Liverpool Football Club closing in now. Personal terms agreed with Alexander Isak. We know what this means. You know, many people think that's it. It's over. The title race is done. What do you think? Also, when it comes to the bitterness you're seeing from football fans, ex-owners, pundits, the media towards Liverpool, thoughts and opinions on that, please. Leave that in the comments section below. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. I'll see you soon. Peace.